Here at Odds Checker, we've been joined by Chelsea fan Nini FC from Blue Lines TV, who's going to talk to us about his hopes ahead for a big season for Chelsea. This is normally the season where everything goes right after the last manager's been sacked. Let's quickly look back at last season, where you came into the season as champions. Antonio Conte looked like he was one of the best managers in the world, and everything slowly unravelled. What do you think happened?
I think you have to ask Conte, in my opinion. I kind of feel that he lost the dressing room, and I think when you're a manager and you lose the dressing room, you're not going to be here for a long time, basically. Now, people always talk about player power. I don't know if I necessarily agree with things like that, because I kind of think that, being a manager isn't just about being on the pitch and doing your tactics. It's about, managing the squad as well. And if you fail to do that, then you're going to put yourself in danger.
The Chelsea dressing room seems to go missing more often than Alvaro Morata these days. What is it about? Why is it that constantly we talk about this China managers and the Chelsea dressing room seemingly never being able to remain loyal to whoever's in charge?
Yeah, I mean, to be honest, I don't even think it has to be one of those ones where players need to be loyal to a manager, because I think the football industry is very cynical and is very ruthless and cutthroat. But I think the main reason as to why there's constantly problems all the time is because we don't sign a coach that complements the players we have. For example, if you've got guys like Hazard, Willian, Luis, Cesc, you can't tell them to defend off the ball and play without the ball. I mean, naturally, after a while, it's not going to be sustainable. So I think with Sarri's appointment, I think it's the first time Chelsea are actually trying to make the right appointment that benefits the team. And
are you, as a fan, happy with the appointment of Sarri?
I'm incredibly excited. Yeah. I've been looking forward to seeing it for how many months. So, I think he's the right guy for the job.
And did you see much of his Napoli team? I think anyone who did knows you're going to be playing an exciting brand of football, to say the least.
Yeah, I mean, I've seen quite a lot of games because I've been doing a lot of research for videos. But this is what I mean. When I saw that game against Man City, I know they didn't win the game, but just seeing that brand of football with the players that he was playing that brand of football with was very exciting, because I kept thinking, imagine if he could, use the same setup with a better team. So I think there's a lot of reason to be optimistic and positive for this season.
Is there a bit of a concern? I mean, I agree with you that I think Napoli play incredible football under Sarri, and I think that you do have the players there who could, especially with Jorginho coming in, who we'll talk about. But if you look at the way that Conte modelled this team in like a very pragmatic way, and that incredible team that won the league, you were just so hard to beat. It was all very functional, if not spectacular. Is there a concern, therefore, that maybe you don't have the players necessarily immediately to play that way?
I kind of feel that we do have quite a lot of players that will complement that style. I think it's going to take us a few games to get used to things, because, I mean, the World Cup has really affected pre-season. A lot of our best players haven't come back in time to really train. And I think because there's such a contrast in footballing styles, from Conte's pragmatic style, as you said, to a more expansive attacking style, it's going to take the players a while to get used to things. But yeah, I feel it's very, I'm optimistic. I'm optimistic.
And for those of you, for all those people watching who haven't seen as much of pre-season as maybe you have and didn't catch the Community Shield on Sunday, can you see the changes initially? Can you see the kind of strategy that he's putting in place?
Yeah, I mean, I saw it immediately when we played Perth Glory in our first pre-season game. I mean, the first thing I noticed was that, we're pressing up higher up the pitch. We're trying to obviously, get in our opponents' faces and win the ball higher up and keep possession. We play with a very high back line as well. They use the offside trap, and literally it was just like overnight there was change. So this is why I think fans need to have a degree of patience. Sometimes on social media, a lot of people are complaining about this, complaining about that. Oh, he hasn't won this, he hasn't won that. But he's at a club where he can win now, and we have to be serious. When he was in Italy, Napoli was his first real big job, and he's been coaching for 25 years. So I think to make that quick transition from a club like that to Chelsea really shows you that the guy's the real deal, in my opinion.
And looking at the business you've done this summer as well, maybe it's all been a little bit delayed because of that bizarre situation where Antonio Conte was still at the club, even though he was seemingly sacked about 2 months beforehand. Are you happy with what's been done?
Yeah, I'm happy with how things ended up in the end. It was very complicated with the deal, dealing with De Laurentiis. He's a very demanding figure as well. So it was understandable that it was going to take a long time for this thing to get sorted out. But I think with Conte too, I mean, he left exactly the same terms when he was at Juventus, where, he coached the first 2 training sessions before he left. So I don't think it's as uncommon, but I mean, it's good that that's in the past now. We can just focus more on the future and, we need to be excited.
And seemingly it's going to be a change in the sticks for Chelsea next season. A lot of talk about who's going to replace Thibaut Courtois. It looks like you're going to be spending a world record transfer fee on the keeper from Athletic, Kepa, to replace Thibaut Courtois. Firstly, how much of a loss is Courtois going to be? And secondly, what do you know, if anything, about the new man?
I think Courtois is a world-class goalkeeper. He will be a loss in a sense of the squads. He's a very popular figure with a lot of players in the team, but he had his own family reasons. And to be honest, he's let the club know for a very long time now that he wants to leave. So I know he had to take a strike in the end, but I kind of think that it was understandable in that sense where it's like, we know that Chelsea, when it comes to negotiations, aren't too great. They they mess up how many deals all the time. So you can't really risk it. So you have to really just apply the pressure to force a move through. But, moving on to Kepa, who's coming through now. And, as I was saying before, it feels kind of strange in a sense that we're so willing to pay 71 million for a goalkeeper. But when it comes to outfield players, when it comes to like a 5 million difference in valuation, we don't want to pay that, which, I don't know, it's a typical Chelsea dilemma. But I think he really complements what you want in Sarri. Like, one of his best traits is his distribution out from the back. Courtois isn't really known for that. And I think you really need a type of keeper that can start attacks from deep, as we've seen with guys like Edison, Alisson, Neuer, all these top-class goalkeepers. So I think that, we do have a modern sweeper keeper in goal now. And I think that it's got a big reputation too in La Liga. So I think it is... I think it's a better signing compared to guys like Pickford and Butland, in my opinion. Yeah,
I think that Butland story was a bit scary for a while for Chelsea fans. One player who Sarri moved to bring in very, very quickly indeed, who was set to go to Manchester City, is of course Jorginho. Yeah. A lot of talk about him. He's a player that I have enjoyed watching a lot for Napoli. He reminds me of a certain Xavi as well. I mean, surely having him in that team is incredibly exciting. Yeah, very exciting. And of course, he'll have slight growing pains in the sense that moving to a new league, in the Premier League, you do get closed down quicker. He'll adapt to that easily though, and he'll probably have to get used to the fact that teams will be getting players to man mark him and try to close him down constantly. But when you've got protection with Kante alongside him and Kovacic as well. Yeah, exactly. So I think this is we don't really sign this type of player at Chelsea. It's someone that doesn't really have any physical capacities or anything like that. He's purely about technique and passing. And I think when Chelsea are making a signing like that for Sarri, it's really like a sign of intent. It's a statement saying, you know what, we're looking to evolve right now and we want to move on to better things. Yeah, absolutely. And you mentioned Kovacic. Are we expecting that to be part of the Courtois deal? Yeah, it looks like it. I think it's going to be completed today from everything I'm hearing. So it'll be a Chelsea player. It's looking like potentially we'll have a buyout clause at the end. So so it's an interesting signing, an interesting one. I mean, if you look at say your starting six in forward areas would be, in midfield and attack would be Kante, Jorginho, Kovacic, Willian, Hazard, Morata. Yeah. Is there a slight concern that there's maybe a lack of goals in that six? I'd agree. I would agree in that sense. I think the great thing about Sarri is the fact that so many goals are scored from open play, and we haven't really been synonymous with scoring goals from open play. So in a sense, it's going to take the team longer to really gel when it comes to completing those attacking transitions and getting those goals. I mean, me personally, I feel we do need to make some signings. There's still talks of Martial. I'm praying something like that happens and goes through. Sure. So long as it doesn't mean that Hazard's out the door. I think Hazard's staying. Staying. But I think that's what we definitely need. But there's a project happening. Maybe for next season, that's when we upgrade the attacking areas. And before we move on to your expectations for next season, a quick word on Callum Hudson-Addai, who I saw him playing last season for the Chelsea in the Checkatrade Trophy. And he looked heads and shoulders above everyone else on the pitch then. He's been arguably your best player in pre-season. Yeah. How much can we expect to see of him this season? I think that I personally think he might be starting against Huddersfield. Really? I don't think Hazard's fit enough yet. I don't think Williams played enough just yet as well. And who knows what his future is going to be until the window closes. I think there's a reason why we never saw him against Lyon last night. He didn't even come on because I think Sarri's thinking about using him for the start of the season. I mean, he's young. You do have to manage them in terms of their physicality. You can't really overstress them when they're so young. But the guy's an incredible talent. I think one of the best
I've ever seen come out from the academy. And with someone like Sarri in charge too, that really develops players and helps them improve, the sky's the limit for Hudson Addai.
Good news for England fans, and I can't wait to see him playing for Chelsea this season. Obviously, last year you fell out the top four. No Champions League football this season, but there is, of course, the Europa League, which you had a fantastic run in a few years ago under certain Rafa Benitez. What are your expectations this season? Are you looking at it as a transition season? Do you want to win the league, or is it a case of getting back in the top four and getting Champions League football next season?
I'm kind of that mindset where, in a sense, it is a bit of a transition season, but I don't think it's too extreme in that sense. So I'm expecting at least one trophy. I think, honestly, we should be winning the Europa League 100%. And I think that's the minimum trophy. That's the only trophy I want us to win. I don't think we're there just yet to win the league straight away. I would like us to have a good run in the FA Cup and, I always forget the other cup all the time.
The Carabao
Cup as well. I was about to call it the Carling Cup, but yeah, I think that Europa League is a trophy for us this season.
You are favourites to win the Europa League just ahead of Arsenal. Given the way you're thinking, speaking to some Arsenal fans before this, they were saying that they thought that you should concentrate on the Premier League and then maybe take stock at the end of the year and see where you are in both, and then maybe commit more attention to the Europa League.
Yeah.
In your opinion, is that wrong? You just got to go out there to win it from the word go.
I mean, to be honest, I don't think the Europa League really starts until the knockout rounds. Yeah. So I think that there's nothing really to worry about. I think in a way we'll have an advantage because then players can get rested. We can use squad players, and hopefully that will increase the squad harmony as well, because that's more game time for more squad players. So I think that in a sense, even though it's not good to not be in the Champions League, in a sense it's probably the perfect scenario for Sarri, because he does have more time to really implement what he wants to do.
Absolutely. And looking at your rivals in the Premier League, do you expect City to run away with it again? Do you think Liverpool could challenge? Any other teams you think they could push City?
Yeah, I mean, I'm looking at Liverpool and Man City as the favourites for this season so far. United, I'm not too sure. I think Mourinho's a bit of a bottleneck. I think his tactics don't really get the best out of the players he possesses. But I definitely think, Liverpool have made some upgrade signings in key positions. Man City, again, working under Pep again. They haven't really strengthened this summer though. Missing out on Jorginho. Obviously, you were calling him Xavi, which he is. Yeah. It's a massive loss for the Pep system, because he's an upgrade to Fernandinho. So, I think that those two are the favourites. But I think we can get in the Champions League. I think a top four finish.
And a word on your London rivals, Spurs and Arsenal.
Yeah, I mean, thank God I'm not a Spurs fan. I'm just looking at the window, and not one player's been signed. It seems like the stadium costs have really stopped them from doing anything really in the market. And in a sense, I do kind of sympathise with Spurs fans. Whenever they do get to a point where they're ready to go to the next level, there's never any financial investment to get the team there, which really baffles me. With all the money in the Premier League, you're expecting more to happen. So, I mean, it is what it is with them.
Do you expect you to finish above both of them?
Yeah, I think above Arsenal and above Spurs, I think so.
Okay, so I'm going to put you on the spot now. How many trophies are you going to win this season, and where are you going to finish in the Premier League?
Okay, I think we'll win one trophy this season. I'm going for Europa League, and I think we'll get thirds in the Premier League.
So a double qualification for the Champions League next season?
Yeah,
Perfect.
double.
Perfect.